Rockstar news. If you want to stream your reaction to the GTA 6 extended look, according to a Netflix PR representative, you'll be able to cover it however you like, including reactions, breakdown analysis, and other forms of commentary. However, we don't have an exact word of live streams yet. To be clear, even I am okay with reactions to trailers, right? First time reactions, A+. Trailer is not a creative work. It is an advertisement for creative work. Totally cool. This just surprises me that Netflix would potentially pay money to have something on their platform, but they would let people effectively re-upload it during their early access window to Twitch or YouTube. It seems like a waste of money. So maybe Netflix didn't pay money. Maybe Rockstar gave it to them with the hope of it reaching a more normie audience. Regardless, I may then, live stream it, take the risk, especially if I see other people doing it. Netflix has said that its partnership to debut the GTA 6 extended look is part of its next generation of content. The company stated that it reflects what it hopes Netflix is becoming, a place where the most ambitious storytelling from any medium can find the biggest possible audience. What? So is this not going to be a trailer? What if this ends up being like a cinematic movie? A story told in the universe of GTA 6 that is separate from the actual story and game that we're going to be receiving. In a similar vein to the Cyberpunk TV show is set in the world of Cyberpunk. But it says, an extended first look or whatever. That can't be an entire TV series. But maybe like a short story or something. In a way, I'm more curious because of the involvement of Netflix than I would be if they were just dropping trailer 3 with gameplay. This is more interesting. It's like a bigger mystery. Tom Henderson, a popular journalist and insider, has said that GTA 6 has most likely already generated revenue equivalent to over 1 million copies sold because of the Netflix deal. He doubts we'll ever get the exact figure, but believes Take-Two has paid a significant amount of money to agree to the partnership. I'm hoping in the investor call that's happening today, I think, that we'll get more clarification on that. I want Strauss Zelnick to be like, yeah, man, I put like another 2 stories on my house, got me a fleet of Porsches. Here guys, here's a picture of my Instagram. Look at all this bling. We're rolling it, son. We got that Netflix money. Yeah, I want to know the exact amount. Trailer for a paywall trailer for a game that has been asking for $80+ for over a month now without a peep is genuine insanity. I don't care if GTA 6 is the game of the century. Rockstar is full of clowns at this point. It does seem excessive, yeah, when you put it that way. It is generating hype. We're talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. Like, I can't really blame Rockstar and Take-Two for taking this so seriously, like acting like it's the second coming of Christ. Because as far as people are concerned, that is kind of what it is. They're able to do this kind of stuff because we care about it to this degree. We are next to the table of Take-Two, Rockstar, eating a meal, and we're just like, can we have a crumb, please? A singular crumb. And then when they give us a crumb, we are beside ourselves. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the crumb. Thank you. If we didn't act this way, they wouldn't do this. With every other game, with every other company, those companies are coming to us like, please care about our game. Care about our advertiser, please. We have so much of it. We have all this art. We're like, we don't give a shit. Screw you. I'm doing other stuff over here. But it's the inverse with Rockstar and Take-Two. A new extended version of the artwork released as part of the GTA 6 extended look has been discovered, revealing a wider view of the original image with even more surrounding environment visible. Here's the extended version. Oh my god, guys, there's a bush that you can't see because I'm in the way. Here you go, guys, look, a bush. Wow. I just got done listening to the Take-Two Interactive investor call for Q1 financial year 2027, and there were a few things mentioned that I thought were pretty interesting. Strauss was asked multiple times about this deal between Netflix and Rockstar for Netflix to have the expanded look at GTA 6 early access on their platform for 6 hours, and then Rockstar would put it on YouTube. He was constantly asked about this deal, and he didn't really explain much. He said that Netflix and Rockstar are in talks all the time as to what they could possibly do together. Rockstar has licensed stuff with Netflix before, as has Take-Two in general. Netflix is in gaming, so it kind of makes sense. And they feel there's plenty more things they can do with Netflix and other outlets because they want to be ubiquitous everywhere. They want to be on every platform they can so that people can as readily interact with their media properties as they possibly can, right? There was a line that he said that seems to imply that Rockstar approached Netflix for this deal. I think that's just how we want to interpret it. I don't think he said that explicitly. I think that's just the way you can interpret his words. Because he was very keen on not saying that. So I'm not sure he was actually confirming that. So he said the level of pre-orders is astonishing, unprecedented for GTA 6. Didn't give numbers. He was poked multiple times to give numbers, and he never did. Unsurprising. But he's unsure how many of these will actually translate into sales because people can still refund them. And as well, like on Xbox, they don't even take your money until, it actually releases. Then it takes the money. I think on PlayStation, you pay up front, right? He says he thinks the pricing was good for standard and deluxe because consumers seem excited about both, not giving away if one was bought more than the other. There was an interesting question that someone asked, which Strauss kind of dodged, which was, do pre-orders bring additional sales, or do they just move up sales that would happen anyway? Is there anyone that is pre-ordering the game right now that wouldn't have just bought it on release? I'd be surprised if there were many, right? I think to what degree pre-orders generate additional sales, it's because of the marketing, the hype, the people talking about the pre-orders, drawing more attention to the game. It's less the pre-orders themselves generating more sales and more the attention that any form of marketing brings a game. And that's just an excuse to market the game more, I think. Strauss talked about how the hardware shortages, he doesn't think are going to impact the software side with the gaming, his business. And I agree with him in a large part because the hardware shortages of memory and stuff that's impacting consoles and potentially the next consoles coming out with the PlayStation 6. This kind of stuff happens later in the life of the PlayStation 5, right? If this hardware shortage had happened at the start of the life of the PlayStation 5, I think it would have greatly impacted GTA 6. But I think a lot of people have PlayStation consoles, have Xboxes, have PCs. And while it will have some impact in people's ability to pick up those consoles, it's not as bad as it could have been, right? Speaking of the future of GTA 6, he said significant resources are applied to keep consistent content for GTA Online, and the expectation is that they're going to continue to support GTA Online. With those two statements together, it seemed to imply that this sort of updates, like the court center heists and stuff, that we're going to keep seeing those with GTA Online even after GTA 6 releases, rather than just the small updates that we get every week where there's a few more bonuses and stuff and a few outfits. That's not certain, obviously, but I think that's what was implied by what he said. But I think it's important to remember what he said in the past, which is they'll keep supporting the game as long as people are playing it. If everyone abandons GTA Online and starts playing GTA 6, they're not going to make content for it. If there's enough people playing it that it makes financial sense to make content for it, they'll keep doing so. Strauss was asked about Sony getting rid of physical media and going purely digital. And he said that 90% of sales for Take-Two are digital anyway. And he said that discs don't really make sense for the consumer. They have to connect to online anyway. He does think that they will still make some physical editions for some of their games where it makes sense. He referenced vinyl, like digital music still exists, but they still make physical music sometimes. Some people in chat were like, what are you talking about? Like, how dare you say that it doesn't make sense for the consumer? Let the consumer decide. But I think what he was saying was just in terms of ease of access, efficiency. When it comes to the game itself, digital is in general more efficient. It is easier. It makes more sense. Outside of the places where you just have terrible internet, for example, the reasons why we like physical media don't have much to do with the day one gaming experience. It's to do with preservation of the game, resale value, the aesthetic of having it on your wall, that kind of thing. These are external to the game itself. Ownership, you actually own it physically. You can't have it revoked. These are considerations that are independent of the game itself. Being charitable to what Strauss said, I think he's correct. As long as he's willing to accept that, the reasons why some people prefer physical media do still make sense, even if they aren't related to the game itself, in terms of the day one experience. Strauss Zelnick reckons that low latency streaming is coming within 3 years. Google Stadia and the idea of we don't have consoles and we just stream the games from consoles in some other place, like just PCs in another place, to our TVs, and we play with controllers. So we have a TV, a controller, but we don't have the console. And that makes gaming hypothetically more accessible on more devices. You don't need to spend $1,000 on some console. You can just pay a subscription for $10 a month or whatever and play whatever games you like, or whatever the system will be. I am skeptical. I am skeptical that within 3 years that's going to be a thing. Rig asks, how do we solve latency? I have heard of things related to predictive algorithms where the game can basically assess what you're likely to do and can sort of prime itself for your inputs and kind of start doing them before you even do them. And so then when you do them, it can do it faster. Who knows when that's going to happen, if I'm remembering correctly, but that kind of stuff does exist. I have heard that stuff before, but you need some really good infrastructure and hardware to begin with to get good latency. The tiniest of things, the slight increase of distance massively increases latency. I say this as a person who spent most of my young life having a 300 millisecond ping to America. If low latency streaming becomes a thing in 3 years, it's going to be in some very particular markets that I imagine will already be the most rich markets in the world. You know, you're America, Western Europe and Australia and stuff, and we've got the money to buy consoles. The sort of markets that would most benefit from low latency streaming and not having to buy consoles or expensive PCs are the very markets where they're not going to get that kind of stuff in 3 years. But Strauss predicted on the back of that prediction that all games will eventually become mobile games, in effect. While console and PC games right now are the large games, and mobiles are like the lighter games that you play intermittently for like 10 minutes at a time, and they offer different experiences. With the ability to stream games, you'll be able to stream like GTA 6 to a mobile device. Right now, a huge barrier to a lot of the world getting involved in it with a Grand Theft Auto 6 or Grand Theft Auto 5 is that you can't put it on one of these devices. So maybe Strauss is just optimistic because he recognizes that for his big earning titles, that kind of stuff would have to become the norm for him to really break into this market with his other titles. Like obviously they bought an entire mobile company in Zynga because they wanted to get more into this market, and it would certainly really help them if low latency streaming became a thing sooner rather than later, but I'm just not convinced. There was a reference to ads in the mobile titles that Take-Two owns, and he said 20% or less, depending upon the game, of players engage with microtransactions in their games. But with ads, you know, it's 100% because, you know, you can give an ad to effectively everyone who plays, right? And so that's a reasonable strategy for mobile. But when it comes to their console and PC games, they don't plan for ads within the games to be a major part of their business. There's a small part when it comes to games that where the ads are endemic, which is, you know, at like sporting events and stuff, you'll see ads around the arena, and that's just the natural pass of that game. And so it makes sense they can put ads there without breaking the immersion of the actual the game. And so he thinks that's okay, which I do as well. But he's not going to expand that into other titles. So we're not getting real ads in GTA 6, basically. Yay. Strauss was asked about AI. He's asked about AI all the time. And he said, AI is a buzzword. And he's right. There are so many things that are called AI today that in years past would have been called other things. Large language models, machine learning. But AI is something that gets certain people excited to invest money, so everyone calls everything AI. I personally watch a lot of stuff talking about the state of the market for AI, what companies are doing, what both companies are doing in terms of using AI and investing in it, and the companies that are producing AI models and stuff. And I think it's all a bubble. I think it's so overhyped that it's just not funny. And Strauss is kind of my kind of view, where he says that of course, as a company, they're always going to adopt new technology to optimize and enhance what they do, but he doesn't believe AI can replace or should replace creativity. Technology should just make it easier. They don't plan to replace anyone. It'll at best just help the creative people in their company be more creative. Right now, a lot of the stuff that the everyday person can do with AI is only because an unbelievable amount of money is being thrown into like a furnace and being burnt. You guys are typing into AI to generate image, giving no money, but that's costing the company like $5. They are all burning billions upon billions of dollars to provide this service, and they are not making their money back. And all of this is going to explode at some point. I don't think AI will ever get to the point where it can be so trustworthy that you'd not want someone involved in that process. And I've heard from authoritative voices that a lot of these companies that tried to replace people with AI were either A, just lying. They wanted to look like, for the stock market, that they were embracing new technologies so their stock price would go up, but they weren't actually. Or they used AI as an excuse to fire people to make it look like they were trimming the fat to boost their stock price. Or those who actually tried to replace people with AI, like 95% of the time just failed and had to hire all those people back, often for a premium. I don't think there is a really large portion of the market that is losing their jobs because of AI. There are some people doing that. I don't think it's nearly as bad as what people think. And I think when these tools start getting priced at a cost that actually makes sense, not just based on investor dollars, then the vast majority of people who use it in everyday life won't be able to. It will just cost too much money. Like a basic plan will cost like $500. or you'll have to have the know-how to run an AI on your own system. I think AI is going to be less these hugely large companies owning the models and more that each person's going to have their own little pet models in their systems, or each company's going to have their own pet model that they train on their own stuff. So that's it, guys. I hope my commentary was interesting. I am still maintaining that I am very optimistic about GTA 6 and the future of Rockstar, and, you know, hopefully my channel, and I hope we all end up enjoying what's going to come out on the 27th. You'll, of course, hear all my commentary and thoughts on that as well at some point on the 27th. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for hanging out. I wish you all the best. Bye-bye. Boop.